The rain had started without warning, tapping softly against the windshield like a quiet warning he didn't yet understand, and just as Ethan Cole slowed his car near the crowded sidewalk, his entire world stopped with a single glance. A woman he once loved more than life itself stood there, holding the hand of a little boy who looked exactly like him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of love that never truly fades, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who still believes in destiny, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because this story might just remind you why some hearts never let go. Ethan had everything a man could dream of: wealth, power, influence. His name alone opened doors that most people never even saw. The polished black car he drove that evening wasn't just a symbol of success, it was proof that he had climbed out of the emptiness of his past and built a life so perfect that even loneliness had no space left to breathe. Or at least, that's what he had convinced himself. In the passenger seat beside him rested a small velvet box, simple yet powerful, holding a ring that was meant to seal his future with a woman who was everything his world demanded: elegant, successful, admired. This was supposed to be the night he moved forward, the night he proved that the past no longer mattered. But the past has a strange way of waiting quietly, until the exact moment you think you've escaped it. He almost didn't notice her. It was just a glimpse at first, a familiar tilt of the head, the way she brushed her hair back when the wind pushed it across her face. His grip tightened on the steering wheel as his heart began to pound in a way it hadn't in years. Olivia Carter. The name alone echoed inside him like a memory he had buried but never truly erased. She stood there, soaked slightly by the rain, her eyes softer than he remembered, yet carrying a depth that spoke of years he hadn't witnessed. And beside her, the boy. The boy couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. He held her hand with a quiet trust, looking up at her with a smile that felt painfully familiar. It wasn't just the shape of his eyes or the curve of his lips, it was something deeper, something that hit Ethan like a sudden wave of truth he wasn't ready to face. The child looked like him. For a moment, everything inside Ethan collapsed. The years of distance, the decisions, the pride, the silence, it all rushed back with a force that left him breathless. He remembered the night he walked away from Olivia, convincing himself that ambition mattered more than love, that feelings were distractions, that success required sacrifice. He had told himself she would be fine, that she was strong enough to move on, that whatever they had was simply a chapter that had reached its end. But standing there now, watching her with that child, he realized something far more painful: he had never asked what it cost her when he left. Time seemed to slow as Ethan pulled the car over, unable to look away. His mind raced with questions he wasn't ready to answer. Why hadn't she told him? Was the boy really his? How had he lived all these years not knowing? The weight of it pressed against his chest, making it hard to breathe, harder to think. Olivia turned slightly, as if sensing his presence, and their eyes met. In that single moment, years of silence shattered. There was no anger in her gaze, no bitterness. Used to quiet recognition, and something else. Something that felt like sadness, but also acceptance. It was the look of someone who had already made peace with a past that Ethan was only just beginning to confront. He stepped out of the car without thinking, the rain immediately soaking into his suit, blurring the line between the life he had built and the emotions he could no longer ignore. Each step toward her felt heavier than the last, as if the ground itself was asking him if he was ready to face the truth. The boy looked up at him curiously, his small hand tightening around Olivia's. Ethan's heart ached at the sight, because there it was again, that resemblance, undeniable now, impossible to ignore. It wasn't just a possibility anymore. It was a reality staring back at him with innocent eyes. Memories flooded Ethan's mind, late nights with Olivia, the dreams they once shared, the promises he never kept. He remembered the way she used to laugh, the way she believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself. And he remembered the moment he chose to leave, convincing himself that love was a weakness he couldn't afford. Now, standing in front of her, he realized it wasn't love that made him weak. It was fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing control. Fear of choosing something that couldn't be measured in success or status. Olivia's voice was calm when she finally spoke, her tone carrying the weight of years he hadn't been part of. She didn't ask him why he was there. She didn't accuse him. She simply acknowledged the moment, as if she had always known it would come someday. Ethan's gaze shifted to the boy again, and something inside him broke completely. The realization hit him not as a shock, but as a quiet, undeniable truth. This wasn't just a coincidence. This wasn't just a resemblance. This was his son. The word echoed in his mind, heavy and fragile at the same time. Son. A life he had never held, never protected, never watched grow. A piece of him that had existed all along, hidden not by lies, but by distance and silence. Regret surged through him like a storm. How many birthdays had he missed? How many first steps, first words, first moments had passed without him even knowing they existed? The success he once took pride in suddenly felt empty, meaningless compared to the life he had unknowingly left behind. Olivia didn't need to explain. The truth was already written in the space between them, in the way the boy looked at Ethan with curiosity, in the way her eyes held both strength and vulnerability. She had raised this child alone, carried the weight of everything Ethan had walked away from, and somehow still stood there with grace. Ethan realized then that the life he was about to step into, the proposal, the future he had planned, was built on a version of himself that no longer existed. Because now he knew. And knowing changes everything. The velvet box in his pocket suddenly felt heavier than anything he had ever carried. It wasn't just a ring anymore, it was a symbol of a choice he had made without understanding the full truth of his own life. A future that no longer felt right. The rain continued to fall, washing away the illusion he had lived in for so long. And for the first time in years, Ethan allowed himself to feel everything he had buried, regret, longing, love, and a deep, aching hope that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. Because sometimes, life doesn't give you a second chance in the way you expect. Sometimes, it places it right in front of you, in the eyes of a child who carries your reflection. As the moment stretched on, Ethan made a silent promise, not to the world, not to his past, but to the future standing right before him. He wouldn't run again. He wouldn't choose fear over love. He wouldn't let another day pass without trying to make things right. And in that quiet, rain-soaked moment, something shifted, not just in him, but in the story that was still being written. If this story has touched your heart so far, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in redemption, and let us know in the comments what you would do if you were in Ethan's place. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. Time lost can't simply be reclaimed. But sometimes, the most powerful journeys begin not with certainty, but with a single step toward the truth. And as Ethan stood there, looking at the life he had almost never known, he understood something he had spent years ignoring. So many things are worth more than success. So many people are worth more than pride. And some love stories don't end. They wait. Before we reach the end, it is a special request. Comment second chance if you believe that no matter how late it is, it's never too late to make things right. Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know if Olivia would forgive him, or if the boy would ever call him father. But for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing control or perfection. He was choosing presence. And sometimes, that's where real love begins. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something deep inside, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that even broken paths can lead us back to where we truly belong.